It was June 2007 when the United States nuclear submarine USS Constellation surfaced off the coast of Maine. Something was wrong. It was supposed to be a routine surfacing after an overhaul in a Canadian shipyard. But the sailors who came out of the escape trunk were ungreeted by the Coast Guard ship that was supposed to be there. And this was just the beginning of a series of unexplainable events. No distress call had been sent. The meals were still warm and the bunks were neat and orderly. There were no signs of a struggle. No one seemed to have seen this coming. Everyone was worried because the disappearance of 44 U.S. Navy sailors on board a nuclear submarine is a serious matter. An investigation was launched to find out what happened, but the Navy classified most of the findings. What they would reveal is beyond terrifying. Here's what we know. The Constellation left its port in September 2006 and headed north for a 9-month tour of duty with the Baltops 87 submarine force stationed in Scotland. On March 25th, the sub returned to the U.S. after completing its mission. It pulled into the port of Mayport, Florida, on April 3rd for repairs and upgrades at the Jacksonville Mayport Naval Station. After 3 months of work, it was time to move on. So the Constellation set sail for its next mission on July 18th. But after leaving Florida, Constellation headed straight up to the Canadian province of Nova Scotia instead of heading south as planned for additional repairs at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in New Hampshire. Once in Canada, the sub arrived at the Halifax dockyard, where it stayed until June. This was around the time when several witnesses started seeing strange lights over the ocean near the military port. When the Constellation left Halifax, it was supposed to meet up with the guided missile cruiser. It's Normandy off the coast of Maine. It was there to escort the sub back to the U.S. Naval Base in Connecticut. But when the Constellation surfaced, the rendezvous was canceled. According to reports, the reason given was that the sub needed some maintenance work done, which is odd since it was less than 2 weeks away from being completely repaired. There are rumors that what really happened was that the Constellation was recalled because it had picked up some type of infection while in port. One witness said she saw unusual activity around the sub. She said she saw medical personnel carrying stretchers and assisting sailors who were unsteady on their feet. This information was never confirmed, but it may shed light on why the submarine was recalled to port. On June, the sub arrived at its destination in Connecticut, but something was very wrong. No one was there to greet them. Why? The crew of the Constellation had gone missing. A Coast Guard vessel was scheduled to be there at 1 p.m. to help the sub resurface, but it was running late. So the crew decided to surface early. They sent a message that they were surfacing in the open ocean off the coast. At 11:50 a.m., the Coast Guard got a message that read, "On bottom, will surface approximately 11:30 a.m." Then the message surfacing. But no one ever emerged from the escape trunk. The first person to spot the sub was a woman named Andrea Sanborn. She was sailing in the area and spotted the Constellation with its escape trunk open and unmanned. When she approached the submarine, she noticed that the escape trunk was fully extended and people were missing. She said she could see the mattresses on the bunks and the daily schedule posted on the bulkhead. Everything looked like it was in order. It was as if the 44 crew members had simply vanished into thin air. One of the scariest things about this case is that the Constellation is a nuclear submarine, meaning that it can stay submerged indefinitely without being detected. It can also travel anywhere in the world without anyone knowing about it. In addition to this, the entire ordeal was kept under wraps by the U.S. government. An official report revealed that an investigation was conducted by the Chief of Naval Operations, but the results were not made public. The report did, however, state that all evidence gathered suggested that the disappearance was not due to foul play. But how does that explain the sightings of strange lights and the possible health issues? To get to the bottom of this mystery, the sonar logs of the Constellation were reviewed. Sonar is a device that creates sound waves to identify objects in the water or measure the depth of a body of water. It works by sending out sound waves at a specific frequency and measuring how long it takes for them to come back. This allows the operator to determine the size and location of an object. The sonar logs from June 2007 reveal something incredible. Between midnight and 1 a.m., the sonar operators aboard the Constellation picked up a strange sound. The sound was rhythmic and appeared to be coming from the depths of the ocean. Source was never identified, but the logs contained a chilling detail. The sound almost sounded like a heartbeat. This may seem insignificant until you realize that submarines are designed to be incredibly quiet. They use special materials and techniques to reduce noise, so they can move through the water undetected. In addition, they have sophisticated noise reduction systems on board. So when the sonar operators heard this strange sound, they knew that it wasn't coming from the submarine itself. It had to be coming from below them. If the sonar operators could hear it, then it means that whoever or whatever was making the noise was very close. Some believe that this was the moment when the crew encountered a massive creature from the deep. Could it be possible that a huge underwater beast was lurking beneath the ocean surface? When the logs were released to the public, many people came forward to share their own experiences. One man claimed that he witnessed something incredible while serving on a NATO submarine in the Norwegian Sea. In 2007, he said that he and his crew were conducting a covert mission. When their sonar picked up a massive object moving toward them at high speed, they tried to evade it, but it moved faster and eventually collided with their sub. He said it was massive and that he felt the impact in his bones. Another sailor told a similar story. He said that he was on a nuclear submarine in the Atlantic Ocean when the crew picked up a strange noise. He described it as a loud bang followed by a knock. He said it sounded like someone knocking the side of the boat. But when they surfaced and investigated, they found nothing. It's important to note that these stories are only anecdotal evidence and cannot be verified. However, they do add an interesting perspective to the case of the missing sailors. Could it be possible that a giant underwater creature was responsible for the disappearance of the Constellation's crew? It's highly unlikely that an animal could have taken down a nuclear submarine. Animals don't attack submarines because they're too strong and durable. Even if the crew had surfaced and encountered a large marine animal, it's unlikely that it would have caused any damage. Marine animals such as whales and dolphins often swim alongside ships without incident. However, there is a possibility that the crew could have been taken by a marine creature. The problem with this theory is that there's no evidence to support it. In addition, it's unlikely that a single creature could have taken down a sub of this size. One more thing doesn't add up either. If the crew had somehow managed to surface and had become separated from the sub, they should have been rescued immediately. The United States Coast Guard has a search and rescue mission 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. In addition to this, the crew would have been trained in survival procedures and would have had lifeboats and other survival gear on hand. Despite all of this, none of the crew members were found. This leads us to believe that the most likely explanation is that they never surfaced at all. This means that something happened on board the submarine that caused the crew to disappear. But what could have caused the 44 crew members to vanish without a trace? Some believe that a toxic gas could have leaked on board the submarine, causing the crew to fall unconscious and die. Others believe that a fire could have broken out on board the submarine, trapping the crew inside. Still, others believe that the submarine could have been attacked by a foreign power. What do you think happened to the USS Constellation and its crew? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.